In 2019, an idea was given voice.
Hi, I'm Q, the world's first genderless voice assistant.
It's not, it's not that it can't be done. It can be done.
Share my voice with Apple, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft.
Synthetic voices from these companies live on over 2 billion devices worldwide. Some experts say that by 2024, there will be more voice assistants on the planet than people. COVID-19 has accelerated that. Q will soon be able to say anything, but it started as a call to action for synthetic voices to reflect human diversity as they start to sound more and more human.
And together we can ensure that technology recognizes us all.
The humans behind Q aren't the only ones pushing for this.
Nobody wants to wear a prosthetic limb that's someone else's or it doesn't fit them. They want something that is molded for them, it's personalized for them.
Dr. Rupal Patel is a speech scientist at Northeastern University who founded a company called VocaliD in 2014. That was after a conference where she noticed that many attendees spoke with different assistive devices, but the same synthetic voice.
It was a beautiful day.
So basically what this is a voice prosthesis for someone who's unable to speak. So that's why we started the technology, and now we're making artificial voices for all sorts of things that also talk.
My name is Megan, and I'm on my way to Boston to get a new voice. Well, actually, I'm the new voice.
I wanted to learn where these voices come from, so I asked VocaliD to make one for me.
We created this passage. Part of it is your synthetic voice, and part of it is from your original recordings.
So am I supposed to guess which?
You can try.
I've looked and looked everywhere to find another me. I went down to the park and looked behind the trees.
It's really hard to tell which part is me and which is... Can I actually hear it again? Making speech with a machine is called speech synthesis. Okay, it's asking me to make an on noise for 3 seconds. To get the most human-sounding voice possible, you need to feed the machine a human voice. So I sat down to record samples of my voice to VocaliD's website, 2,000 sentences, which I chose from their library of stories and speeches. I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into. I was ambitious at first. I inquired what sort of talk I ought to make. I've never said so much in one sitting, much less to an empty room. I got tired. My voice got tired. I went through coffee. I went through cough drops. I devolved to shorter and simpler sentences. Fire is wonderful. The sky is blue. When I finally got to 2000, I felt like I had finished a marathon.
I'm sure it wasn't an enjoyable experience really sitting there recording 2,000 sentences, but the more data you have, the better it sounds.
With just 1,000 sentences, my new voice would have been clear and intelligible, but it probably wouldn't have sounded like me.
People emote spontaneously, so if you didn't record any, real questions or shouting, or anger, it's not going to know how to do that.
With 2,000 sentences, something begins to happen. It starts to sound more human, and at times almost indistinguishable from my voice.
Do I sound like you? Do I sound human to you? Do I sound real to you?
So what happens between 1,000 and 2,000 sentences? Basically, to answer that, we need to ask a bigger question.
What makes a voice human?
The voice carries a lot of information about your age, your size, habits. So are you a smoker? Are you a loud talker? Do you abuse your voice? Do you yell a lot? It's all in the voice.
Go ahead. Okay, and you are Coco. Fairly soft, lower pitched voice, you're fairly breathy, and most of the sound is coming out through your oral cavity versus your nasal cavity.
Cocoa, beach ball, feather, candy, lighthouse, armor, steamed. These are voice types, an unofficial taxonomy that VocaliD created to showcase the variety inherent in the human voice.
We hear voices of all these different types around the world.
What's your voice type?
My voice type, I change between a brook most of the time and sometimes candy. And I think a lot of that just depends on how much energy I have.
When we talk, our vocal cords vibrate with air pushed from the lungs, and then we form words with our mouth, tongue, and lips. But first it passes through the larynx, or the voice box, where we control loudness and pitch. Even in the womb, babies pick up on the importance of tone. And when they cry and babble, they're practicing. What makes a voice human isn't just about what's said, but how it's said. This is called prosody.
It's the pitch, the loudness, the durational changes that give speech meaning. Sometimes people think of it as the icing on the cake, so you have the message and now it's how you modulate that message, but I really think it is it's the scaffolding that gives meaning to the message itself.
Prosody tells us what's important in a way that speech can't alone. This is why we write with capitals, exclamation points, underlining, bold, italics, and emojis.
Punctuation is just an approximation for how we modulate our voice.
Prosody is also how we communicate emotion. One study showed that humans can identify these 24 distinct emotions through vocal sounds alone. Another study found that people were better at reading others' emotions when they heard just their voice than when they could also see them. For over 2 decades now, synthetic voices have been evaluated not only on intelligibility, but also on how human they sound, on a scale of 1 to 5. And it's been a windy road to get closer to 5. This is a replica of a speaking machine, first fashioned in 1769 with parts of a bagpipe and a clarinet. It's a crude version of articulatory synthesis, or an attempt to model the human vocal apparatus. Fast forward to 1939, and you have the first electronic speech synthesizer. The Voder, or Voice Operating Demonstrator, premiered at the 1939 World's Fair.
The machine uses only 2 sounds produced electrically. One of these represents the breath. The other, the vibration of the vocal cords.
The keys filtered those sounds. A pedal modulated the pitch.
Whom did she see?
She saw me.
Did she see you or hear you?
She saw me.
The Voder took operators a whole year to learn how to play. It never caught on, but it helped inspire formant synthesis, named for the frequency bands found in different sounds. We filter formants by changing the shape of our vocal tract. This method would eventually be used to create Stephen Hawking's voice.
Bringing science to the people brings people into science.
Then there's concatenative synthesis. This method uses human recordings like this one as raw material. Those recordings are chopped up into tiny units of sound, called phonemes, which programmers basically copy and paste to form new sentences.
So for a long time, synthetic voice had gotten to a plateau. Today we use machine learning-based methodologies where you try to learn the parameters that are changing for every different sound that is being produced, and then you try to recreate that speech.
The most advanced methods train a neural network on raw waveforms at tens of thousands of samples per second. Google says their voices top 4 on the naturalness scale, in both North American English and Mandarin Chinese. It's still not 5, but it can model any voice in any language. And one other highly human audio output. Music. But especially to a trained ear, the machines can't quite pull off what some humans can.
I've heard stuff that sounds like Mozart. I've even heard stuff that sounds kind of like the Beatles, but it's missing something fundamental. Some human quality.
Maybe what's still missing in synthetic speech requires machines to not only mimic, but also feel like humans.
As a neuroscientist, I believe that all of our thoughts and feelings and hopes and desires come from the firing of neurons. We still don't have a good idea of how to model one artificial neuron, let alone 80 billion of them connected together in the ways that human neurons are, or at least in a way that will facilitate human-like learning and creativity. Potential's there, but for now, I haven't heard a single AI-generated piece of music that I like.
And maybe that's a good thing for any kind of sound that humans can make.
Today we actually see this box. We see this thing talking to us. But what if it was really everywhere? I think ideally it's when these technologies allow you and I, 2 humans, to communicate more effectively rather than via the machine.